So can you see the screen of mine? Is it visible?
So today what we will start?
We will start with these phrases. Phrases.
Sir, you are mute.
Okay. I'm saying, is it visible, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So let me start this. We are going to discuss about the phrases first, and then after we will discuss more into it, right? And one by one we will go into it. Now, the first one is called as a phrases. What is phrases actually? Phrases as clause elements. So phrases as clause elements means now any of the constituent which function as elements of clause structure are either
Constituents meaning?
constituents means is called as a part of it, part of the sentence. Like you can say means if I am saying birds fly in the sky, so you can find out the birds is a one of the means a subject. It is a constituent. So fly in the sky is called as another constituent, right? So or you can say in the sky is called as a one of the constituents. The meaning of constituent is called as a either we can say the word or maybe called as a phrases or maybe called as a clauses, right? So it is a part of the sentence or it is called as a constituents. Clear? The
So your screen is not visible properly.
So I think there will be a means you know, we call it a network error, right? Sai and Srishtiman, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let me
Yes, sir.
the constituent which functions as elements of clause, elements of clause. Elements means that's called as a one word of the clause. Clause is called as a part of the sentence. So elements of clause structure are either phrases or called as a subordinate clauses. Either you can say that phrases or subordinate clauses. So, and our next stage is to outline briefly how the phrases in their turn are constituted. So we will come to know that how phrases are formed. The 5 formal categories of phrase. The 5
So
formal.
can I tell the meaning of phrase in my own word?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, phrases is a group of words that contains means it do not contains any verb.
Yes, very good. So phrases are the group of words that.
And also, sir, it means it don't means make a complete sentence.
Yes, very good. So phrases are the part of the sentence and they are forming into a group of words, right? And they do not have the verbs and they do not make sense also. So therefore, they are called as a phrase or phrases. So in that case, there are 5 formal categories of phrase we have in English grammar. They are called as a verb phrases. They are called as a noun phrases. They are called as a adjective phrases. They are also called as a adverb phrases. And also they can be referred as a prepositional phrases. So how many types of phrases you can find out? Now, phrases are categorized, formally categorized into 5 of the type: verb phrases, noun phrases, adjective phrases, adverb phrases, and prepositional phrases. Right. Let me. Yeah, 5 types of phrases you can find out. So here you will find out one of the diagram which is shown to you. Right. So the diagram gives you the idea that upward pointing arrows show how these phrase types. So now you can see that means it is stated one of the phrase which is indicating as a what kind of a phrase? Noun phrase, right? Okay. It is called as a noun phrases, right? So what is that noun phrase? Now noun phrase can be used with the subject. So noun phrase can be used with the object, right? Noun phrase can be used as a subject. Noun phrase can be used as an object. Noun phrase can be used as a complement. Noun phrase can be used as an adverbial, right? So we will get lots of means examples into it, but remember that. So these are called as a means uh, placing in the sentence in the form of subject, in the form of object, in the form of complement, in the form of adverbial, right? Adverbial case. So they can be called as a noun phrases, right? So I'll give
Sir,
you, yes.
sir, in the noun phrase, there are subject and object.
Yeah, but that is what I'm saying. In noun phrases can be used with the subject, can be used with the object, can be used with the complement, can be used with the adverbial phrases. So adverbial in nature. So therefore, noun phrase can be uh, means put in a sentence in four of the format: subject, object, complement, and adverbial so wage, right? Now the next one is called as a verb phrases. So we understood about the noun phrases, where in which of the ways it uses in the sentence. Second is called as a verb phrases. When we talk about the verb phrases, it has only uses is called as a, it is used with the verb only. It cannot be used with the subject, object, complement, and adverbial. It uses only in the verb section. So therefore, it is only called as a verbial phrases or verb phrases. Now, similar to that, we have also means
So mean it only contains verb.
yes, it only contains verb or verbs, right? So next one is called as a adjective phrase. So what is that adjective phrase? Now, adjective phrase can be called as a complement. So adjective phrase can be used only in the case of complement. Remember that. So it means well, you can talk about noun phrases can be used as a complement. You can also say adjective phrase also can be used as a complement, right? So similar to that, there is another one, adverb phrases. So adverb phrases also can be called as a uh, also adverb phrases also using as a adverbial in section. So therefore it can be also called as a noun phrase. Noun phrase can be used as an adverbial wage. So and that's why it is called as a adverb phrases. We have also next one that's called as a prepositional phrases. So what is that prepositional phrase? Now prepositional phrase can be used with the adverbial section, can be used with the complement, can be used as a means subject in case. So can be used as a subject in case. So please do remember that if I am talking about, there are 5 formal categories of means phrases we have: noun, adjective, adverb, verb, preposition, right? These are the things. So noun phrases can be used as a subject, object, and also complement and adverbial. Similar to the verb phrase, only used with the verb. So adjective phrase can be used for the complement. Or adverb phrase can be used for the means adverbial wage, or you can say subject, right? Subject in the case. So prepositional phrase can be used only in the in the form of adverbial or subject, right? Now the next one is called as a phrases as clause elements. Phrases as clause element means what? Now phrases can be work as a means phrases as clause elements. So they can be referred as a clause. The broken arrows on the right, the broken arrows, you can see that which the broken arrows which have been given here. The broken arrows on the right indicate that adverb phrases or adverb phrases and the prepositional phrases can exceptionally function as a subject. So adverb phrase or called as a prepositional phrase can be used as a means exceptionally as a subject in the form, right? And that preposition phrases can exceptionally function as complements. Prepositional phrase can also work as a complement, right? So let's see that how. General structural characteristics of phrases. What are the general structural characteristic of phrases? Now each phrase is named after a class of word which has a primary and indeed duty obligatory function within it. This function, however, differs in different types of phrases. Different types of phrases, and we may usefully investigate in terms of the distinction between optional and obligatory elements. Optional and obligatory.
Can you explain that word?
Obligatory means called as a mandatory elements. Mandatory. One kind of a construction is illustrated by prepositional phrases, which contain two normally obligatory elements. The preposition and the prepositional complements. Preposition and the prepositional complement. Another kind of a construction is illustrated by adjective phrases, which have one obligatory element that's called as an adjective, right? Optionally preceded or followed by other elements, these two constructions will be called non-headed and headed respectively. Look into it. How it is indicating as a prepositional phrases. It is called as a prepositional phrases because it uses with the to London, right? To London. So as you find out, to is a preposition, London is the noun. So to London is indicating as a prepositional phrase, right? Similar to that, adjective phrase, to whom you call as adjective phrase, like very important indeed, right? So very important indeed. So you can say that very important or important indeed. So
It does a work of an adjective.
yeah, so it means what? Now you can find out that preposition, why it is called as a non-headed. Non-headed means not headed, not play the important role in preposition. Why? Because preposition is used at the beginning of the word. To London. You can't write London to, right? So if you also say London to means India, so again you are using that to India, right? So therefore means it is called as a non-headed. So whereas headed is what? Now when you are using very important or important indeed. So in all these cases you will find out means the word very is using with the adjective as a important, very important. So important indeed. So here important is used as an adjective before the noun. So very important or important indeed. Are you getting my point? So therefore it is called as a, okay. Yeah. So that is what non-headed, headed, and non-headed means something which is used before, right? And something which is used before as well as after. So therefore headed and non-headed it is called. Therefore in the sentence when I say I went to London, neither to nor London could be omitted. So you cannot omit, you cannot erase. I went to London. So I went to or I went London, but in the sentence.
So I went to London is a correct.
Yeah, I went to London is a correct. So therefore it is called as a prepositional phrases. To London is obligatory, means mandatory to be used. Therefore it is called as a non-headed. So whereas if you say this is very important indeed, this is very important indeed. So the modifiers The modifiers, which one is the modifiers? Now that's called as a so which one is called as a modifiers? The modifiers is called as a very and also indeed. So they can be very and indeed can be omitted. Like you can say this is important. You can also say this is very important. You can also say that this is important indeed. You can also say that this is very important indeed. But you can't say that I went to London. I went to London. I went means London too, right? So will the sentence will be not appropriate, right? So here this is important while important is obligatory. Obligatory means what? Now here the adjective important is called as a mandatory to be used. Mandatory to be used means definitely used. But if I am talking about I went to London, so here to is not called as a mandatory. So you can say that this is very indeed. So this sentence is not appropriate. This is very indeed is not appropriate. The obligatory element of a headed construction is called its a head. So the the word adjective must use here. It may function in a manner equivalent to the whole construction of which it is a part. Next is called as a adverb phrases, resemble adjective phrases. Adverb phrases what? Now show the same kind of idea about the adjective phrase. In that they have a head, an adverb. So which one is the head? Now like adjective, adverb also called as a head, to which optional element may be added. Example, rather, slowly, but the two most important category of phrase, verb phrases and noun phrases.
Slowly.
Do not entirely fit into either category for them. The headed, non-headed distinction is insufficient, right? So technical terms for headed and non-headed are endocentric and exocentric. So now in that case, it is very simple to identify when we are talking about phrases. In phrases, something which is called as a means mandatory to be used or called as a non-headed and headed. So we find out prepositional phrases like to London and adjective phrases like important, very important or important indeed. So they definitely use in the sentence as if I do not use to, I can make the sense of the sentence. I went London. So, but if I do not use important, then I can say that this is very indeed is not a sensible sentence. So that is why to is non-headed, not working as a head, whereas important is an adjective which is working as a head, right? So next is called as a verb phrases and noun phrases. What is that verb phrases and noun phrases? Let's say that the verb phrases and the noun phrase can be considered the most important phrasal categories. So verb phrases and noun phrases are called as a most important phrasal categories for functional regions. Functional regions. We note from 2.25 that the verb phrase operates as the verb element in a clause, as the most central and also definitely part of the clause. So if a verb is not present, then that cannot be called as a clause. So the noun phrase is important more because of what? Now because of it's a multiplicity of function. So noun phrase can play the role of multiplicity, means more than one action or one role. So a noun phrase can function as any of the clause, Now you can see that means how noun phrase, look into it. See how noun phrase is playing as a multiplicity, like noun phrase can work as a subject, noun phrase can work as an object, noun phrase can work as a
Object.
complement, noun phrase can work as a adverb phrase or adverbial, right? So in that case, multiplicity, whereas verb plays do not play the multiplicity, adjective phrase only means does the job of complement. So others are doing as a single work, whereas noun phrase is more important because it does perform multiplicity, right? So it is also stated that a noun phrase can function as any of the clause constituents except verb. So noun phrase can play any of the clause constituents, means it can be a subject, it can be an object, it can be a adverb phrase, it can be a complement like that, or it can be adverb phrase. So a noun phrase can function as any of the clause constituents. So except playing the role of verb phrase. So a declarative sentence indeed normally contains a verb phrase and at least one noun phrase.
Sir, what is the meaning of declarative sentence?
Declarative means called as a statement which is a simple carrying with the subject, verb and object, right? Or subject and predicate. It's called as a declarative sentence. So it just provide you the means what do we say that neither negative nor question nor imperative. It is simply a affirmative or called as a statement, declarative statement. So that is why verb phrases are headed. Verb phrases are headed what? Now to the extent that they are composed of two kinds of elements. So verb phrases are composed of how many kinds? Now two kinds of elements, auxiliaries and main verbs. So we know that verb phrases having with what? Auxiliaries and main verb. Like auxiliary called as is working, right? Do know, or called as a was working, or called as a has taken, or called as a have fought, or can say will have worked. So in that case, you can find out means a verb phrase can have means or headed to the extent that they are composed of two kinds of elements, auxiliaries and main verb, such that every unreduced verb phrase contains a main verb. Contains a what? So every constituent contains with the main verb, but not necessarily an auxiliary. So auxiliary may not be there, but main verb should be there in a verb phrase. However, non-finite means we understand main verb cannot normally stand on its own in independent clauses. The auxiliaries like can, have, and been may not therefore be omitted in. Let's see that Jack can play the trombone. Our team has been beaten. So you can say that Jack can play the trombone, or Jack plays the trombone. Our team means has beaten, or our team has been beaten. So here you will find out the relations between auxiliaries. The relations between auxiliaries and main verbs. So here you can find out can and play, right? So auxiliary is can and main is called as a play. So similar to that, has been and beaten, has and been and beaten. So you can find out means the relations between auxiliaries and main verbs are more difficult than can be explained by the simple headed non-headed distinction. Further consideration of this question will be given in a 3.55. Similar remarks applied to noun phrases. A noun phrase is what? Now simply headed to the extent that it has a central constituent or called as a heading, right? So noun phrase do have also central constituent or called as a head, to which other elements can be optionally added. But if we change the plural noun phrase into a singular noun, the head can no longer stand alone. Let's say that how. The room contains some beautiful Flemish vases. The room contains a beautiful Flemish vase, right? So you can find out that the noun phrase is what? Now the room. That is called as a means a noun phrase. For a large class of noun phrase, in fact, a determinative element such as uh, a in two is obligatory, a in two. So you need to use a, otherwise the sentence cannot be formed. In another respect, two noun phrases do not behave like headed construction. So members of one class of words that of personal pronoun, I, him, her, although they act as heads of noun phrases. So act as what? Heads of means
So these are used in noun
yeah.
phrase.
Yeah, noun phrases they can use uh, in the sense that I can function alone as subject. I can function alone as a subject. Him as an object cannot normally have optional elements such as articles and adjectives added to them. Therefore, in some noun phrases, the head must be accompanied, and in other phrases, it cannot normally be accompanied by another element. Such observation make it clear that phrases like uh, phrases like clauses cannot be described by a single structural formula, and that various subclassification have to be made of phrases and of elements they contain. So what I try to say here, what I say here, so here we are discussing about what? We are discussing about the phrases and the clauses. So how these phrases and clauses are helping us to means indicating that which one is definitely needed and which one is not necessary. Where did I keep it? Hmm. Okay. Okay. This one. It takes time. Just a minute. अच्छा, you. Now you. Sorry, what happened to this? What happened, Saib? What did you do? Saib, what you did?
Sir, you try to means first try to sir access and then you can open it.
Hmm. Okay. Now, So we have discussed about this particular verb phrases and noun phrases, and we understood that noun phrases are more important than verb phrases. Now let's go for this summary of phrase structure. Let's say that how it is formed. In spite of the inevitable, in spite of inevitable oversimplifications, it means in phrase structure, we are trying to do surely simplify. We give now a brief tabular summary of the main elements. We so what is that? Uh, the main elements of each phrase. So we know that what kind of a phrase we have. We have a noun phrases, we have a adjective phrases, we have a adverb phrases, we have a noun, adjective, adverb, prepositional phrases. So all these are called as a different types of
So
phrases,
preposition, please.
preposition phrase. Rather than label of all elements and functional label, rather than label all elements with functional labels. So what is their function? So if I am talking about noun phrase, adjective phrase, adverbial phrase, prepositional phrase, so in that case, what is or verb phrase? So what is their functional labels? So where they use, as we did with subject, verb, object, complement, and means adverb or adjunct. S for subject, V for verb, O for object, C for complement, and A for adverb. We shall merely illustrate certain general types of syntactic function within phrases. These types will receive further comment, right? Let's say that the first one is indicating as a verb phrase. So verb phrase consists of a main verb. So verb phrases consist of what? Now a main verb which either stands alone as the entire verb phrase or is preceded by up to 4 verbs in an auxiliary function. Right. Let's say that. Look into the verb phrases. The ship is the subject of the sentence. So in that case, it is called as means a noun phrase, the ship. Now, auxiliary phrases what? Now, the ship watch, it is an auxiliary. So you can say the ship sank. So only main verb is there. No auxiliary verb is given. So in that case, sank is called as a verb phrase. The ship sank. It is a verb phrase. If I am saying the ship was sinking, the ship was sinking, again, was sinking, auxiliary plus main verb. The ship has been sunk. Again, you will find out 2 auxiliary verb and main verb. The ship must have
So the ship must have been
sinking. So again, you will find out the ship is the noun phrase, must have been is auxiliary, and the sinking is called as a main verb. So the ship may have been being sunk. Now observe that how many verb phrase that you find out. The minimum verb phrase that you find out in a sentence is called as a 1, and the maximum means verb phrase you find out in a sentence is called as a 5, where you are saying the ship may have been being sunk, may have been being sunk. So that is what called as a verb phrases, right? So it can have a single verb phrase, it can have a 5 verb phrase. Now moving to the next one, that next one is called as a noun phrase. So noun phrase consists of a head. Consist of a head means, as I told you, means headed and non-headed, which is typically a noun, and of elements which either obligatory or optional. So what do you mean by obligatory or optional? Now, optionally is called as a something which is not needed, but if you add, it does not perform any important role. But obligatory is something which is called as a definitely. Without that, the sentence cannot be completed. Like I gave you the example, he went London, he went to London. So here to London is a prepositional phrase. So if I do not put the to also, then also the sentence is appropriate. So here to is,
So it will not in proper sense.
he went to England. How come it is not proper sense? Where did he go? He went London. right? So if you say that he went to London, so it is something called as a sentence which is here to is called as optional, but it is not mandatory. So to London. So but in noun phrase, what happened? It is called as obligatory, right? So determine the head and optionally modify the head or complement another element in the phrase. Let's see that how. If I talk about that, allies that, I remember allies that, all those, a. So these are the words are given. I remember allies fine war, allies uh, fine war him with the fine warm. Okay, so just see that how it is pointed. So for first is called as a noun phrase. First is called as a determinative. Second is called as a pre-modification. Third is called as a head. Fourth is called as a post-modification. And fifth is called as a complete modification. So what I remember allies, right? For fine warm wedding. Allies, fine warm wedding with the red hair, in the country last year that I once had than that I ever had, right? So, or you can say, I remember that fine, I remember that, uh, you can say that, uh, um, best wedding in the country last year that I ever had. So you would find out that I remember allies. So all those are called as if I am using allies, it is called as a determinative. So allies fine warm.
Sir, in the country last year, so what we have to do in that?
So it is stated post modification. So it is given some of the words. Let me show you how. Look, it is taking one of the sentence. This is called as a verb phrase. The second one is called as a noun phrase. Where in the noun, which one is the noun here? The noun, you will find out allies, fine warm, him with the red hair that I ever had. So in that case, you can say that I remember allies, right? I remember fine warm, right? So I remember him, head. I remember whom? Him. I remember with the red hair. So I remember uh, all those better, all those better than that, or means I remember uh, a good girl. I remember a good girl with the red hair that I have ever had met. So in that case, what do you find out? Which one is a determinative? So determinative like a, the, all, that. So these are called as a determining. Determining means which which are used before the noun. So I remember Ali's wedding with the red hair that I ever met. So, or you can say, I remember Ali's wedding. Or I remember him, I remember Peter, I remember Ali's wedding, I remember that girl with the red hair, right? I remember all those fine warm days in the country last year. I remember a baker.
Sir, I remember Alice that he go to Peter wedding.
Yeah, I remember a better story than that. I remember the best trip that I ever had. I remember a good trip that I once had. Now you can see that so many sentences you are making here. So when you say, I remember him, him is the head. When you say, I remember Peter, Peter is the head. When you say, I remember Ali's wedding, it means I remember what? Wedding. Wedding is the head. Then Alice is what? Now, which is modifying? Whose wedding? Eli's wedding. So I remember that girl. So who is the head? I remember girl. So then that is a determinative. When you say, I remember that girl with the red hair, so it is called as a post modification. What do you mean by post modification? Now, when you say, I remember that girl with the red hair, it means I remember that red girl. I remember that red hair girl. So red hair is a modification of the girl. So that's a post modification. I remember all those fine warm days. I remember all those fine warm days in the country last year. So I remember what? Days, which is ahead. I remember fine warm, right? I remember all those. So all those is a determinative. Fine warm is a pre-modification and head is called as a date and post-modification is called as a in the country last year. So similar to that, I remember a determination, determine. So pre-modification better. What head is called as a story. I remember a story or I remember a story. So than that, it's called as a complement. I remember the best trip that I ever had. Compliment. I remember a good trip. A is a determined. Pre-modification is good. Trip is called as a head that I once had. So in that case, you can find out means noun phrase carries with what? Noun phrase carries with nothing but means determinative, pre-modification, head, post-modification, and complementation. So determinative means any of the word which is modifying, like Alice Wonderland, Alice book, that that girl, all those beautiful days, a story, the trip. So determinative. So pre-modification, so word which is used immediately before the head to modify them, like fine warm days, right? Pre-modification. So something which is modified the noun earlier to that. I remember better story. Better is called as a pre-modification. To whom? Story. So in that case, these are called as a noun phrases. Next is called as a adjective phrase. So adjective phrases are what? Now consist of an adjective as head. Like in there, we find out a noun is a head. Like in verb phrases, verb is the head. So here adjective phrases, we can find out adjective is a head. Optionally preceded and followed by modifying elements. Let's see that some of the examples you will find out adjective phrase. So pre-modification, head, pre-modification, head, post-modification, and complementation. Post-modification or complementation. Look into it. The weather was, head is called as a pleasant. So it is called as a one of the sentence where adjective is called as a pleasant, which is a head, main. So the weather was too hot. So the weather was hot. Hot is called as adjective, but too is used as a modifying. How hot it was? Not too hot. The weather was too hot to be enjoyable. So enjoyable is a complement. The weather was incredibly cold, right? The weather was pleasant enough. Now see that pre-modification, post-modification, and head. Head means what? Now which is somehow called as an important word. And before that, you are using certain words like hot, too hot, so hot, very hot. So very too are called as a pre-modification, right? Sometimes, so that is why what do we call? Now these are called as a means optional. These are called as a optional. What are they? Now these are called as a optional. Whereas pleasant, hot, cold, pleasant, these are called as a obligatory. What is the difference between obligatory or optional? Now obligatory means mandatory. If you say the weather was pleasant, so pleasant is obligatory, it is needed to make the sentence. If you say the weather was only hot, then also it is important, but to be enjoyable is not necessary. So that is why it is called as obligatory or optional complementary, the complementation. Similar to that, adverb phrases. So adverb phrases are similar to adjective phrases in their structure, except that they have an adverb. So instead of an adjective as their head. So you will find out that in adjective phrase, adjective is head. In adverb also, adverb is the head. Like let's say that I spoke to him yesterday, which is called as a means adverb of time, which is the head. So I spoke to him often is also correct. Complete the sentence. So, but if I use quite, so quite is modifying often. So quite is called as a not obligatory, but optional.
Sir, I spoke to Ramu politely.
Yeah, I spoke to whom? Ramu. So politely is called as a post modification, right? So, oh shit. Okay. So I think it's immediately shut down. Hmm. So look into it. So what does it say? Means I spoke to him yesterday. I spoke to him often. I spoke to him severely. I spoke to him clearly. So in adverb phrases, which one is the head? The head is called as a yesterday, often, severely, and clearly, right? But if it is used with quite often, if it is used with very severely indeed, if it is used with I spoke to him as clearly as I could, so in that case, pre-modification, post-modification, and complementation are indicating what? Now, head is the most important among these pre-modification, post-modification, complementation. So that is why means if we find out that they are called as a adverb phrases. The last one is called as a prepositional phrases. What is that prepositional phrases? Now prepositional phrases are the phrases which again taking the head as preposition. So it consists of a preposition. It consists of a preposition followed by a what? Prepositional complement. Prepositional complement, which is normally a noun phrase. So you can say that prepositional complement, also called as a noun phrase. How? I met her. I met her for lunch. I met her at the corner of the street. Now you will find out lunch, the corner of the street, or called as a Saturday morning, or called as a strange coincidence. So these are called as a noun phrase. But as it is used with the for, at, on, by, so therefore it is called as a prepositional phrases. I met her for lunch. I met her at the corner of the street. I met her on Saturday morning. I met her by a strange coincidence. So it is true. It is true. It is true of adjective and adverb phrases as of noun phrases that one word elements tend to precede the head. So obviously in phrase, whether it is the adjective, adverb, or noun phrase, so one word is present which is working as a head, whereas multi-word elements tend to follow it. but there are exceptions. The adverbs indeed and enough post-modify their head. Post-modify, what do you mean by pre-modify and post-modify? Pre-modify means some head was modified before, and post-modify means the head word is modified after. Yes, Srishtiman, you want to say something? Srishtiman, do you want to say something?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Understood
Sir,
all? Sorry?
yes, sir.
Okay. So these are the things which we discuss.
Sir, sir, after the class, can you send this whole PDF?
No, this is a completely 898 pages English grammar, research grammar.
No, sir. The main that you teach.
Today, whatever I teach today.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sure. I'll send it to you. So, Sai, did you understand?
Which book is this?
This is
Yes,
a
sir.
this is a comprehensive grammar of the English language. So I'm trying to teach you grammar in a vast manner so that you understood everything from the grammar. So I'm going to start this today onwards. Is it nice? You understand this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sai, do you find out difficulty? Please tell
Some
me.
language. Some language I can understand.
Sorry, Sai?
Some words,
No,
some
sir.
sentence I could not understand it.
No issue, but you find out the examples are making you understandable, no? Don't you think that?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, but Sai, tell me. Okay. I'll send you some of the questions. We have a lot of things to discuss. See, what class is also there, right? We will also discuss prefix, suffixes.
Sir, Friday we will move forward to a new chapter.
Sorry?
Or we will-
I cannot hear you.
Sir,
Yes,
now you
sir.
can hear me.
What
Sir,
are
I was telling that you will, sir, on Friday you will teach a new chapter or you will forward to this chapter?
No, I'll teach you something new, no? This phrases is made you understand, no? How many types of phrases are there and what are their usage? We understood that. Next we go for the clauses or sentences
sir.
or noun one. Okay.
So now.
Okay. So I'll also send you some questions pertinent to this. Okay, so we'll meet in the next class. Till then, bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye, sir.
Bye. Bye, Sai. Bye, Aryan. Bye, Srishtiman.
Bye, sir.
Bye.
Right, sir.
Bye.